The closest I'll ever get to heaven.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that is a beautiful spot, and I tell you, that is, it's almost like heaven being in Tambourine Mountain. I know how you remember. Do you see yourself as a South African or as an Australian?
No, it's Australian now. It's no pure Australian. Well, originally we were a sapper, half and half, but now I'm pure Australian because
I'm Dr. Chamonix Blanche, ex-corporate and academical turned CEO and board member of several companies and mother of 4 little extraordinary kids. But it wasn't that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the know-how, and the time to focus on designing and really going after the life that I so wanted to live. A life of freedom, of fairness, and of being fair dinkum to who I really was and what I wanted to get out of this fleeting time that we have on Mother Earth. Fast forward to many lessons learned and moving halfway around the world to the most amazing country, you'll see the life that I now live. One that gives me more safety and freedom than I ever thought would be possible, and that really only existed as a daydream while I was living in South Africa. I created Chamonix TV to give you true spot advice on how you can also live a life in this amazing country, and so that you can see how another couple like us now live in Australia with 4 little kids here in Down Under. And I'll be providing you with step-by-step strategies so that you can make your Aussie dream a reality too. If you're a keen future Aussie who's looking to create a life that excites you and offers you safety, freedom, and opportunity, you have come to the right place, my friend. Welcome aboard. Hi, Fred. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is lovely to have a chat with you. And please tell our viewers, where are you joining us from tonight?
Tambourine Mountain in Queensland, just inland from the Gold Coast. The closest I'll ever get to heaven.
Oh, that's funny. Well, that is a beautiful spot, and I tell you, that is, it's almost like heaven being in Tambourine Mountain. I know how you remember. It's absolutely gorgeous. So how long have you been there for, Fred?
From when we arrived in '89.
Okay, so a very long time. Have you lived in any other areas in Australia?
Yes, I moved. I opened in Perth, and I opened in Sydney, and I opened in Perth. Cape to Cairo, you know Cape to Cairo?
Yes, yeah.
I started that. It was Springbok Foods, and well, I can't remember the German's name that he changed to Springbok Foods to Cape to Cairo. And I did the same in Sydney, but you know die Afrikaanse spreekwoord, ver van je geld na jou skade. So yes. Sold them, and they now are completely run independently. We just on the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, and Brisbane outlets and factories on the Gold Coast, and we've got outlets in all the way up. We do deliveries right throughout Queensland.
Oh wow! So you're still involved with it?
Well, I'm not personally. My son and my nephew now run the business, but I started it and got it going, and they're now running with it.
So what did you do in South Africa before you came over to Australia? Were you also a small business owner?
No. I was we had a hotel outside East London, Holiday Resort Glenmuir and Glengariff Hotel. And we sold that in '85 and decided we're going to get the hell out of there. But it took 4 years. My ex-wife was a medical technologist, so they had to wait for her to be qualified because I was in the 40s and no qualifications. So buying a hotel for 100,000 and selling it for $1 million doesn't give you 1 point. So they wouldn't accept me. And eventually when my ex qualified, then they accepted us. And it took 5 years, from 85 to 84 before we came.
And so it was a business, no, not a business visa. You came on her skills, you said.
Yes, my ex-wife, they accepted her.
And you came straight to Gold Coast, you said?
That's right, yes. My mother, when we sold the hotel in '85, she emigrated in July. In those days, all she needed to prove was $16,000 a year income. And they accepted her immediately, so she came over and set up and bought on Tambourine Mountain, and then to help me to it, then when we applied to try and help with the application, my mother bought the butcher shop here on the mountain. Because while I was waiting to emigrate, I went and helped friends of mine run butcher shop in East London. Well, I didn't get any qualifications. I just did it to kill the time. And that's where I learned to make biltong, and in the hotel itself too, buying carcasses from the abattoirs rather than buying it from the butchers. And when
quite a handy skill to come to Australia with.
They don't recognize that as a skill, because I mean, to start off with, drive horse is actually illegal because it doesn't meet their their standards. There's nothing like it in Australia. But biltong, we had a lot of difficulties in the beginning. It is so strictly regulated. But we started off on Tambourine Mountain here with a butcher shop, and because we were South African. At that stage, there was sanctions against South Africa. And when the clientele found out it was South African, they boycotted us. So I had to hire an Australian bloke to run it. But I made boerewors in a small way for the few people on the mountain. And then with a bit of luck, on a Sunday, I had to work Saturdays and Sundays to survive. And on a Sunday, this bloke came in and said, he wanted some snags. For about 20 of them, they were having a braai on the mountain. And he saw the boerewors, and I told him what it was, and he saw the biltong, and he wasn't too impressed. So I gave him some, and I said, yeah, give it to your friends. He said, no, we don't want it. And I said, well, give it to them. If they don't like it, throw it away. And off he went. He gave him the boerie and the sliced biltong. The next morning at 4 o'clock, here he stood with a camera, with a photographer. And I said, what are you doing? He says, no, he came back to buy more at 4 o'clock, but everybody loved this stuff. And he came to buy more, but I closed it. So he came and wrote an article, which got into the Courier Mail. I got a half a page write-up about standing there with biltong and boerewors. Call it Iguana. And then, of course, that set me on the road. Then I sold the butcher shop, rented premises in a factory on the Gold Coast. And then eventually, after a couple of years, it grew so well that we bought our own factory and then opened our own shop and then started the importing. So we bring in about 14 to 15 containers a year from South Africa.
Wow, that's a lot, because there are so many South Africans. And I assume as the business went on, as the years went on, your business grew because so many more South Africans kept coming into Australia.
That's right, yes. You know, when they had the World Cup in, I can't even remember what year, but the Springboks were stationed in Perth. And there was only one bloke doing boerewors over there. It wasn't too wonderful. So they asked me, evidently where it got around, how it got to South Africa, I don't know, but the South African Rugby Board asked me to go and open up in Perth to run what they called Boktown. They rented a hotel, and I had to do biltong and boerewors and all these sort of little things. So I went over a week beforehand and realized this was a great opportunity, and then eventually had my son and run the business here, and then I went and opened up in Perth, which was very, very lucrative. I mean, Perth was good, but I just can't take that heat, that summer heat.
Yes, it's very warm here.
Yeah. And the kids weren't interested in me. I thought one of them would go and run it, but they didn't like it. So we just sold Perth and we sold Sydney, and now we're just on the Gold Coast.
Oh, wow. What an interesting story. And as I said, when I said great skill to come with, I mean, as a South African, and then being able to open the shop because you saw an opportunity.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that opened so many doors, so to say, for you when you were here, while you were here. That's great. And your family now get to eat as much biltong and boerewors as what they want.
They don't. They hardly touch it.
So in the
like living by the sorry.
No, you continue.
I said it's like living by the sea. When you live in Free State, where it's lovely, when you get to the sea, you just sit and you watch it all the time. But when you live there, you don't even take any notice. You never go down to the beach. The same with we've got boerie and biltong, you don't have much.
Oh, Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
And so when you came, you had no family members, only you and your wife at the time, or did you
No,
have
my
children?
mother had emigrated 4 years before. She settled down. She settled, yeah, the house we live in now is where she started in 85. And we lived with her. And the wife left after about 2 years, and the kids and I stayed here with my mom. And we built it up. We built up the business.
So how many children do you have?
I've got 2 sons and a daughter.
And do they speak any Afrikaans, or have they been to
No. The 2 sons are the older ones. They can understand Afrikaans, but they can't speak it. If you speak Afrikaans to them, they can understand. My daughter was too young. She can't.
So have they been to South Africa?
Yes, they all went back at one stage or the most. The one son, Tyler, played cricket in the South African Cricket Academy in East London. And after they stole his car the 3rd time, he left. He went back again. And my other son went over and had a look. He spent a couple, about 3-4 months there, and said, no. He was quite happy to come back. And my daughter went back once with with my ex. And she's also very happy not to go back again.
And how about yourself? How do you feel about your new country, which isn't new at all anymore to you? But how do you feel like Australia's home, or do you still think about South Africa as well?
No, very much so. I mean, in 1952, when Macmillan made his speech, the winds of change speech, the winds of change were blowing through Africa, and then Kenya went, Milton Congo had the strife, Mozambique went, the northern Rhodesia went into Zambia. All this was happening around, and we were holding firm. Nobody would get us. And eventually, when they spoke about releasing Mandela, I realized it's futile to say it, because wherever it's happened in Africa, it's brought everything back down to their level. Nothing has come up to what we've brought up, what South Africa really is like. So I miss my friends and the old South Africa, not the apartheid part of it, but I miss that in a small way. But this is a land of opportunity.
So what's the best thing?
If you prepare to work, there's immense opportunities. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's the best thing for you about Australia?
Well, that's a difficult. I think it's the easiest to say is virtually everything. The socialist system certainly helps a lot, but there's also the pros and the cons. But I can live with these problems. Whereas in South Africa, I don't think I could live with those.
So apart from friends and family in South Africa, is there anything else that you miss?
I wouldn't say so. No, not anymore. You miss it at first, but not anymore. I mean, I don't even want to go back anymore. You read so much about the murders and all that, and I've got a sister and a brother-in-law that on a farm in Barkley East. My sister can't sleep, and my brother-in-law sleeps well. I don't know.
But you're happy. This is home.
Oh yes, this is home.
And do you see yourself as a South African or an Australian?
Sorry?
Do you see yourself as a South African or as an Australian?
No, as an Australian now. Yes, no, pure Australian. Well, originally we were a Safa, half and half, but now I'm pure Australian because I identify more with Aussies than I do with South Africans. It's nice when I bump into South Africans om lekker weer die taal te praat en te gesels en so te kere gaan, maar ek is an Aussie.
Do you support the Wallabies or the Springboks?
Wallabies. Wallabies. I keep some. I think I would support South African rugby and cricket if they didn't have a quota system, but it's not a genuine side. So it's difficult for me anyway.
Well, at least the nice part is they're still green and gold. It's the same colors as South Africa.
That's the same color. That's about all it is, but it's not a genuine team. It's not. it's not the best team they can put in the pitch.
Yeah, but I mean, Australia also has the same colours in the
Oh, yeah,
team.
it's just in yellow. It's right in the reverse. Yeah.
Fred, we have so many people in South Africa that watch this series of ours, From the Horse's Mouth, wanting to hear from people like you. What would be your one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's there thinking, should I or shouldn't I try to go to Australia?
The best advice I can give anybody is say, come for 2 years. Don't hesitate. The longer you wait and sit and procrastinate, you know, it puts too much doubt in your mind. Come over, and if after 2 years you don't like it, you can go back. Whereas if you stay in South Africa, you don't have an option. Let's face it, all the friends when I left were still young enough to come, but they thought everything would turn out all right. They would give their back teeth now to be able to get over. I gave my children, everybody, an option. They could either go back or they could stay here. It's an option they wouldn't have had we stayed in South Africa. And I've known, I won't mention his name, I'll just say Mike was one of my customers. He'd been here 2 years and he'd had enough. He said, no, he couldn't take the Aussies. He was going back, he packed, he put everything in a container and he went back. 2 months later, I get a phone call, Fred, can I have some boerewors? And I said, Mike, that's you? He said, yeah. I said, what do you mean you want some boerewors? He said, no, we're back. And I said, what about the container? He says, no, I left instructions on that side when it arrives, just to send it straight back. So
that was an expensive trip.
Yes.
Wow.
He regrets it, of course, and he's never been back again.
Yeah, we've heard that a few times where South Africans have gone back to South Africa after they've been there for a while, just to literally almost, as you say, pack the bags again and then just get back on the plane to come this way. It is difficult initially, of course it is, because it is a new country, it's new culture. There are many similarities, but it's still a new place. I found it difficult because I didn't have that I would say the circle of friends. Beside that, you don't know which electrician to call or how the hospital system works or where do you take your kids to school. Like all of that is new. But you know what, Fred, it's things that you can learn and you pick it up so quickly. And, you know, a couple of years later, you've got that whole system, that whole network set up again. So.
Yes, it is. It's, you know, when I first arrived here, and one of the people near us took me to the pub to go meet some of the others. And he introduced me to this Aussie, and the Aussie said, "How you gonna die?" Well, I hope it when I'm 90 with a nice young girl. And he looked at me, and my pal said to me, "No, friend, he's asking you how you're going to die."
Yes, the accents over in Brisbane are quite something to get used to. They don't speak English, they speak Australian.
Australian, that's right, mate. Yeah, proper Australian, mate. Yeah.
With a couple of years we lived in Brisbane, my husband and I really struggled to understand the true blue Australians because they have that very particular accent that it's easy to read it, but to hear it is like, oh, I don't know. Thanks so much for taking the time chatting with us today, Fred. It's really great to hear your story and lovely to meet the originator, the starter of Springbok Foods. I've been to your shops many times over the years.
Oh, well, that's nice.
And thank you for doing that, because if it wasn't for you, I would almost call you the father of South African shops in Australia. If it wasn't for you, we would have still struggled to find our Mrs. Balls and our biltong and all the other lovely things that we get.
It's good to see people, the newcomers especially. They're so happy to see all these things. That is good.
It makes them settle in just a little bit easier because it gradually eases them into the Australian market, having those comfort foods from home.
That's right. That's right.
Thanks so much, Fred. Have a lovely evening. And it was great to chat to you.
Have a naughty day.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you had fun, please remember to hit that subscribe button and then it'll make sure that you never miss a thing. I'll see you same time and same place next week. Bye for now.